All right, so BSG just dropped an insane patch on us today. I want to go ahead and say sorry for my voice. I just woke up, but I wanted to get this out ASAP. And first of all, I want to say that people are pissed. People are absolutely pissed and upset about this patch, and I completely understand. I understand your guys' frustration. This is like some of the most wild shit I've ever seen from BSG, and you know, it makes sense that people are upset. Me personally, I really just don't give a fuck about stuff like this. I'm gonna play the game. I'm probably not gonna buy this new edition, but I just don't get upset about stuff like this. But please understand that I get your frustration and I understand why you guys are upset, and I'm with you on it. But anyways, let's jump right into this. There's a video on their YouTube channel that kind of shows off everything that you get in the new edition of the game. So if you want to go watch that, I'll have it linked below. I'm also gonna have some of that playing in the background, so if you want to see it without going to the video, you can do that here. Anyways, we got patch 14.6. This is a big one, and we're gonna jump right into it. So basically, they're adding a new edition to the game. So we have standard edition, EOD. Now we have Unheard Edition. Basically, what you need to know right off the rip is if you don't have the game at all and you want to start out by buying the biggest edition, which is this new Unheard Edition, it is going to cost you $250. $250 is just mind-blowing to me. So I remember when I got into the game and I bought the base edition and, you know, figured out how everything worked, and I was like, I kind of want to upgrade to EOD. I went in and looked, and EOD was like $150, and I remember at that time being like, that's kind of insane for a video game, but I did it because I wanted to support the devs, and I do not regret that purchase at all. I've gotten 3,500 hours worth of gameplay in this game, and I've loved it. But $250 is insane. And on top of that, if you already have EOD and you want to upgrade to this Unheard Edition, it is going to cost you $100. So let's jump into these patch notes and talk about what is new with the Unheard Edition. So the biggest thing is going to be access to a PVE co-op mode with persistent progression. Progression will not be reset with wipes. So essentially, this is single player Tarkov without the mods. So you can go in there, you can play solo, or you can play with friends in a single player mode. There will be no other players on the map. There is PMCs, but no other real life players except you and your friends. People have been asking for this for a very, very long time, and the thing that upsets people a lot is that this does not come with EOD. So a lot of people are saying if we bought EOD, we should get these DLCs for free, and BSG is saying that this is not a DLC. My opinion, I think it's a DLC, but whatever. So next is enhanced stash size of 10 by 72. I'm pretty sure this is bigger than the EOD stash size. So if you buy this edition and you have the extra stash size that you paid money for on the website, you're going to have the biggest stash in the game. Next is increased starting level of character skills. So I'm pretty sure based off of the video on their channel, every single skill is going to start out at level 3, which I mean, not something to get upset about, but it is kind of pay to win. Next is going to be expanded PMC pockets. So instead of just having 4 slots in your pockets, now you will have 6. So it's a 1 slot and then a 1x2, 1x2, and then a 1 slot. So it's essentially a scav vest for your pockets. This, I think, is actually a really cool change, but again, people are upset because it's pay to win, and I get it. But honestly, I do think it's a cool change. Having bigger pockets, I think, is awesome. After that, we'll have additional equipment and resources in stash. So that's just going to be like with EOD, you get better gear to start with, you get better money, all that good stuff. So this is going to be like an enhanced version of EOD basically. And then you also get a unique in-game ID. So I'm assuming it's going to be like a different color with a different symbol to differentiate these people from like EOD and stuff. And then next is going to be one of the most controversial, and it's unique radio electronic item mark of the Unheard, and we will get into that a little bit later. This shit right here is just, I can't believe that they would add something like this into the game. And there's also another one we'll get into, but this right here, like, if you haven't heard about this, just stick around, we'll cover it and I'll show you guys everything about it. It is just nuts. Not in a good way, by the way. Next, you'll have a unique in-game melee weapon that's in the video as well. So if you guys want to see that, it'll be in the background. You'll have a unique in-game armband. Who really cares? Increase mail retention time. So like your insurance and, you know, messages from certain traders, that will be there for a little bit longer now. You'll also get more slots on the flea market. So I don't know how many, but I would assume maybe 1 or 2 more than EOD users. So when EOD starts the game, you have 2 flea slots and you have to earn the rest of them. I would assume that the Unheard Edition would have like 3 or 4 starting out. You'll have an increased fence standing, so you won't have to grind as much to get max scav karma. So there's that. Additional main menu background, free access to all subsequent DLCs. I wonder where I've heard that before. And then access to the early test server. So the test server thing, I don't really understand. Obviously, I'm not a part of it because I'm not cool enough for that. But I thought in the past that like the test server was a private thing where they only brought people in that they really trusted wouldn't say anything about it. So I don't really understand that, but I guess we'll just have to see. And then this is kind of like stuff that they did to the game in general, so some changes and some reworks and stuff. So we'll go through this quickly before we jump into the other stuff. First is going to be switch the in-game season to late spring. That's pretty cool, so there probably won't be any snow on the ground. Reduce the base inertia strength, so this is really going to only affect us at the beginning of a wipe. It won't feel as strong. Reduce the aim punch effect, reduce the blur effect when taking damage, and reduce the camera shake effect while shooting. So basically getting shot or shooting now won't feel as chaotic anymore, if that makes sense. Next, they did some work on the body hitbox penetration. They changed the mechanics of body hitbox penetration. Now the body hitbox is always penetrated if the round's penetration power stat is higher than the hitbox penetration threshold. I just want to say I am going to read through these, but like the math and science and all that stuff behind it, I personally have not tested this stuff in game, so I don't have a complete understanding of how all of this works. All I know is shoot bullet, people die sometimes they don't, and that's basically my knowledge of how all this works. If you guys want to see some like actual in-depth testing of all this stuff with some pretty in-depth answers on how all of it works, I would highly recommend you guys go check out Gigabeef or Airwing Marine. Those 2 guys do a very good job of testing stuff, and I'm super happy they're part of the community because they answer a lot of my questions. So I'd highly recommend you go check them out if you're interested. Next is head, forearm, shoulder, calf, and thigh hitboxes now have a threshold value of 20. Again, I guess that means like penetration. You know, it takes higher than 20 pin to go through that body part to go to another body part. I'm sure you guys can tell I really don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, so take it with a grain of salt. The damage and penetration power of the bullet degrades when it penetrates the body hitbox, meaning that the next body hitbox will receive reduced damage. So this does kind of make sense. If you shoot somebody in the thorax and it pins and their buddy is directly behind them, it's not going to do the same damage that it did to the first guy you shot, but it will do reduced damage to the guy standing behind them. The extent of damage reduction depends primarily on the round's penetration power stat. Secondly, it depends on the caliber of the round and the body part's hitbox penetration threshold. And the greater the penetration power stat and caliber of the round, the smaller the damage reduction. And then they also reduce the armpit hitbox size, which is cool. Maybe you'll be getting armpitted a lot less now. And then finally, they did an armor penetration rework. So if the round's penetration power stat is 15 more than the armor's effective durability, this will result in a guaranteed penetration. Obviously, that's pretty straightforward and makes sense. If the ammo you're using does 15 more pin than the armor's effective durability, then you will get a guaranteed penetration. So hopefully, for those of us who like the big boy rounds, let's say you're running around with M61 and you've noticed that sometimes it takes like an insane amount of shots to kill somebody with one of the best rounds in the game. Now it will be a little bit different and that big boy ammo will actually work. And then all of this stuff down here is just like basically them doubling down on things that we already knew, but they're just putting it here again so people will understand, I guess. All right, so now we're going to jump over to the purchase part where we can see it right here. And as you can see in the background, it looks like there's a gamma case. So I guess those of you who wanted the gamma case, now you can get it. You just have to spend $250 to get it, or whatever the amount is to upgrade from your current version. Basically, if you scroll down, it will tell you how much it is to upgrade from your current version. So I have EOD. It would cost me $100 to upgrade to this. I don't think I'm going to be paying that, so it is what it is. So we're just going to go through this, and it's going to kind of clarify a few things, but I wanted to go through this also for those of you who wanted to see it. So a lot of this is going to be basically what we've already talked about. So we're just going to scroll through this real quickly. Again, free access to all subsequent DLCs. I wonder where we've heard that before. That's crazy. But this is kind of the section that I wanted to go through because this is going to get into a couple of things that are just mind-boggling and make no sense. So right here is all the additional equipment that you will start out with as a bear. So if you want to pause and read all of that, you can. And then right here, it's going to be all the additional equipment that you start with as a USEC. So if you want to pause again and check this out, you can. Looks like you're going to start with a scav junk box, which is just wild, I would assume. Yep, both sides you're going to get a weapon case, scav junk box, and ammunition case. So starting the game off with a bunch of cases, that's kind of crazy. All right, and then right here, it's going to clarify the skills that you get additional levels on. So it's going to be attention, hideout management, weapon maintenance, bolt action rifles, and pistols. So it's not every single skill, like I said earlier, but these are the ones that you're going to get a little bit of a boost to. All right, so here is the huge controversial part. So remember that Mark of the Unheard unique radio electronic item? So this item is equipped in the special slot, and the item gives a 50% discount when using cash services in raid. That is not the crazy part, and neither is insured equipment returns 30% faster. So these are kind of like, you know, if you're going up to a car, it's going to cost you half the amount that it normally would, and your equipment returns 30% faster. These are okay changes. I'm not upset about them. This is fine in my book, but this is the crazy part. So if you have this Mark of the Unheard equipped in your special slot with 6+ fence reputation, scavs won't shoot first at ranges over 60 meters away. So I know a lot of you probably read this and go, well, you still got to get max fence rep, but remember, you start out with more fence rep if you buy this version of the game, so it is a lot easier to get to this point. But scavs won't shoot you first at ranges over 60 meters away. First thing that comes to mind is you will no longer be shot at by sniper scavs as long as you stay 60 meters away. Those random scavs that start shooting at you and really irritating you will also not shoot you until you get within 60 meters. And this is just like crazy. This basically just makes the game easier, if that makes sense. So if you have this item, the game is going to be easier for you, essentially. I don't want to harp on this too much. Maybe it's not going to be as bad as it sounds. From face value, it just seems a little bit crazy. Like the fact that they would put something like this in the game is just wild to me. Also, the other little thing that I was telling you guys about, this one I think is even crazier. So these are going to be available in future updates. So these are not dropping right now, but you'll have the ability to build a unique zone in the hideout. I don't know if this is directly connected to this next one, but if it's not, then that's kind of vague. New unique item, the distress signal device. When the item is activated, it produces a bright flash as well as a loud sound signal. And once activated, all players on your friends list will receive a notification that they can join your raid to help you. I'm just going to let that sit for a second. What the f is that? Obviously, we don't know how this is going to work. Maybe it's like a one-time thing that costs an insane amount of money to be able to use. A friend being able to join mid-raid is like crazy to me, right? Is it crazy to you guys? I don't know if it means like your friend joins, they help you for a certain amount of time, and then they have to extract. Maybe they have like a 10-minute timer before they have to leave. I could see this being used in ways that it's not really intended to be used, if that makes sense. Again, I don't want to harp on this too much. These two things right here are just like, it doesn't make sense why they would put this in the game. And I know I'm ranting about it, but I'm trying to process this in real time and make it make sense, but it's probably not going to make sense until we see them in game and see how they work. But yeah, that is everything about the new Unheard of edition and today's patch. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I've been reading some comments on other videos and people are pissed. So if you're upset about it, feel free to comment here. I do read all of my comments. I'd be happy to talk with you guys down there. Try to keep it civil, of course. I'd love to have an actual conversation rather than people just, you know, ranting and raving and crying and complaining. Again, I'm going to double down on this. I'm with you guys. I understand your frustration. I get it. Me personally, this just does not affect me at all. I understand that it's kind of pay to win, but I'm the type of person where if I see something I don't necessarily like or I disagree with, I'm just kind of like, whatever. Like, it doesn't really affect me. I don't know. I guess I just really don't give a shit is what it boils down to. So, but I do understand the frustration. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Other than that, that's really all I have for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.